Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. Okay, I picked this photo as a reference photo, but I'm gonna change it a lot. It's just for inspiring me. Actually, I like the color and the wild nature of the bouquet. I always like to start with mark out my composition using brush strokes. Actually brush marks here and there. And actually it gives me the freedom to place the flowers where I want to have my composition and eventually my focal point. I'm not worried about where the stems and leaves are, so I just put kind of random shapes around the painting, but I just use the color which I like better for this bouquet. I use Alizarin crimson and Alizarin orange, burnt sienna, scarlet, sepia, olive green, hooker's green, and kind of a little bit of flash tint. But always you can make darker color by adding like sepia, the darker colors like sepia or ultramarine blue. Okay, let me tell you something about flowers. Actually, floral painting can be very pleasing for some reasons. I love to do them most of the time because they are very forgiving. A flower can be distorted and it's okay because it could be moving by the wind or it lost some petals and so on, but still it's beautiful. And also flowers don't need to be symmetrical. In fact, if you just make them in different and random shapes, you'll get the more natural and organic composition. Comparing to other subjects like landscapes or portrait or figures, flowers can be edited easier and faster. But the way that we can fix them is by adding positive and negative brush strokes to it. But make sure to keep some white space between here and there between the flowers. I'm not saying between the flowers, but it should be everywhere in your composition, but you have to make sure that you have white spaces. And keep in your mind that always you can go back and fix them in order to have a perfect shape of your flowers. We need them for several reasons. First, it applies transparency to our painting, and also it shows light through our composition. You can define the shape of your flowers by positive and negative painting. Just add some darker values inside or outside your flowers to give them a little more character. Actually, I start with adding center of the flowers, and also I try to define the shape of the flowers negatively first, Sometimes, of course, sometimes I need to do both negative and positive painting at the same time. But in this case, I just define the shape of the flowers negatively. And then later at the end, I'm going to back to add some brush strokes inside the flowers. And of course, if I feel I need more brush strokes and darker value around the flowers or in the background, I'm going to add them later. But make sure that you have your focal point more in details. You have to do most of the work when the paper is still wet, but if you think your paper is kind of dry, you can just spray clean water to it and make it wet again. Wet the paper partially, the place that you want to work on that specific part of your composition. I'm adding more dark value inside the flowers, but I'm not gonna add darker value on and brush strokes like doing wet and dry inside each petals and each flowers. Remember, we need to do details in just our focal point, which could be few of the flowers, few of them, not all of them for sure. Using right brushes, right size and right type of the brushes will help a lot. For example, in this case, I'm using round brush number 10, which has a very sharp tip, and it helps me to make very uneven negative spaces, negative shapes for my flowers. Tilt the paper to get better access to the places that you want to define your flowers better, because you know the shape of the flowers are very important. They, of course, they are not shouldn't be symmetrical, but still they need to be in a perfect shape. Adding darker value to your composition always creates depth, and also you can define your focal point better, but adding dark value around them. But it's better to add darker value gradually. This transition from very light colors to towards the dark colors should be very slow. And even inside the flowers, there are some dark and light shadows, so I try to make them. But remember, always we just do the brush strokes, add the brush strokes like the way the flower or whatever we are painting, like the same direction. What I'm trying to say is when you want to add a brush stroke towards, it needs to be towards the center of the flower or from the center towards the outside of the petals. So in this case, you help to shape your flowers better because the strokes go in a way that the flower grows. I have to define my flowers in focal point more, and then when I go towards the sides of the painting, the flowers should be more blurry and kind of unfinished ones. And of course we have to have shadow from each flowers that they are they overlap each other. So in this one, this is the at the top of the other one, so I need to add shadow to the bottom one. Always wash the hard edges and fade them into the background. Even in those tiny little lines that I'm applying into the flowers, I just follow the direction towards the center. Okay, I add background here, and then let's call it a painting. I hope you enjoyed it as I did. Thank you and see you next time.